Hi, everyone, and good morning. Welcome, teachers and educators. And I'm Dr. Wu from a National University. Currently, I'm serving as a professor. Um, my primary job is to work with credential program and do professional development for in-service teachers and pre-service teachers. So my interest is in teaching and learning. You can see that. So today we're going to explore something we call reflective teaching and learning. In academic world, we call it RECA, cognitive or cognition. And so we're going to try to put as practical as possible. Okay. And let's look at the background, motivation for this study. If you see the PowerPoint over here, I put the challenge over here, improving students at the mathematics achievement. I'm focused on mathematics, not English language arts, others, just example. So you can say, according to California assessment data, we have 62.7% students did not meet state standards. Did not meet. More than half our students do not meet our state standards. This is our state. If you look at national data, we call this the nation's report card. 61% of fourth grade, 72% of eighth grade, and 88% of the 12th grade did not meet the standards. If you look at this is the trends over here, 61, 72, 88, we have only about 10% of our high school do meet or exceed the state standards. So this is very critical data we have. If you look at the international data, I use the example of TIMSS study. TIMSS study stands for Trends of Math and Science Studies. And the US standards rank 27th out of 57. We're kind of a middle, little bit above middle. And in fourth grade, and 22nd out of 44 in eighth grader. We're not ranked on top. And we usually think US everything is on top. However, in education, we're not. And it's way behind some Asian countries like Singapore, South Korea, Japan, and Hong Kong. So the question is, others celebrating their educational achievement. Are we? We're way behind. So my question is, as an educator, how do we reflect on this challenge? As a teacher, as many of you are, what do we think and how do we feel about this challenge? So we have many strategies, SEL and special ed. We have many policies and strategies to help our students to improve academic achievement. But today I'm going to talk about building students' metacognition. So its objectives. By end of this presentation, you should be able to kind of sort of understand what is the metacognition. And hopefully you can apply some strategies and use some sort of strategic tools, reflection tools, and so that we can improve our self-regulations and finally achievement. So this is a challenge. So let's see. And what is the metacognition? Basically, according to academic words, it's about thinking about the thinking. It's very difficult to understand. So basically, I translate this as meaning it's just you have a plan, you can monitor, you can adjust, then you can reflect, both on teaching and the learning. As a teacher, we needed to learn how to reflect on your teaching daily. And we needed to tell our students how to use the metacognition to their life career. In practice, let me give you an example. For example, we talk about the group work, take a group work example. Cooperative learning, sometimes we always say it. Now, before you do that, you have your plan. And the plan to this approach. And during your group work, you needed to monitor collaborations and the process. And while you're working, you can adjust your strategies as needed. Always make adjustment. After, always reflect on outcomes and learning. Do you meet the outcomes? And by the way, and as an educator, I have interviewed more than 10 excellent teachers globally. One thing I found that they always have reflective teaching on notes. Keep the 4, 5, 6 years big book, so they reflect every day. This make them making certain progress. So key idea is here is reflective teaching and learning. How do you reflect it? Let me make a real world connections over here. Just use the business example. A small business owner plans what to sell. For instance, vendors we see all time. So you need to monitor your customers' responses and adjust the strategy throughout the day based on what works. If not working, you don't have sales, and you're not achieving your goal. You have to make an adjustment. The reason I'm using small business over here, I think it's this we experience every day. We can see every day, and you can see their adjustment. You can see their reflective on their plan, on their action. So this is just example. And why metacognition is matter to K to 12. Number one, building students' confidence, independence. So you teach them how to be independent. And then number two, improves motivations. So students learn by themselves or self-regulation. So they are motivated to learn something new. And the support, number three, support diverse learners. So we talk about differentiated instruction. And so this is kind of individualized learning. So based on students' needs. So teach them how to regulate themselves. So this is kind of three things why it matters for K to 12 education. So we talk about the theoretical foundation. So we got to have theoretical foundation. Actually, it's pretty old over here. It's based on John Dewey's. Long time, 100 years ago, teaching and learning. Basically, learning by doing, learning by reflection. So learning, the John Dewey's point is learning does not come from experience alone. Sometimes we talk about experience the best learning, but you have to learn from your experience. If you don't learn from your experience, experience is not meaningful. So learning comes from reflecting on experience. Okay. And also reflect the turns experience into meaning. So if you do anything, you reflect on it, you learn from experience, that's the meaningful learning. And of course, it empowers learners to make better decisions. So next time you will do it. And for instance, today I'm learning fraction, and I did not get it. And you learn from your action, then you know next time I will make some sort of adjustment. Okay. So this is a basic kind of we call it theoretical foundation. By the way, I do put the reference on in the end if you want to check their work, including previous some data from national, international, and the state. You can take a look at that. Let's put some K to 12 examples over here. This is really strategies over here. So for K to 12, but you can use all strategies for K to 12. And for K to 2, especially, this is in early education, you can use the think aloud. Think aloud. Example would be if the teacher said that I see a large animal, then following you want to see the giant, the vocabulary giant. So you always use this, you think and reflect on your learning. And the second strategy will be reflection, drawing. And you can draw something. For instance, in mathematics, you draw tall stacks of 5 blocks, understand the fractions, understand the counting, understand count by fives, tens. This is we teach mathematics, always know that, right? At early age, you count by 1 or skip 2, skip 5, you count 5, things like that. And by drawing, you draw, give you more impression on your learning, okay? So for K to 3 examples, you might want to do plan, do, check. Plan, choose the strategy. For instance, you use the pizza model to represent fraction. And do solve the problem and add the fractions by sharing the pizza fairly. So here is the very conceptual words over here. You not only share pizza, you see that in many class, in many times we observe our classroom, we see the teacher, let's share pizza. That's not a fraction concept. The fraction concept has to be share something fairly. If not fair, that's not a fraction. If it's fair, it's a fraction. No matter what, you use this concept for fraction operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, you will get it. Because, many mistakes you reflect on, it's not a fraction concept. So I put a fairly, especially over here. So does the solution make sense to you? Verify and explain your reasoning. Based on what? Based on the concept. Sometimes we saw the big idea. And if you don't have a clear concept, you will not be able to and explain or make a decision. You don't have good reasoning over here. I will have an example in just a minute, okay? Then your reflection prompts and what worked well and what was challenged. Well, for instance, the drawing helped me understand the fraction wall, and we have a lot of manipulatives. But if you have the clear concept, that will make sense to you. If you don't have clear concept, you will not have a clear understanding. So this is kind of, you always reflect on what you learned. Does it make sense or not? So I put over here, this is 6 to 8. Normally we hate fraction. I teach math methods course, so I don't understand why we so hate fraction. We have big trouble on fraction over here. For instance, and error analysis, another reflect the tools over here. You can use error analysis. Example over here, fraction and multiplication, fraction over here. You can see that. And identify the mistakes in the worked example over here. 4, 1 out of 4 times 1 out of 4. If you have a clear concept, it should be less than 1/4, of course, right? And because 1/4 and 1/4, and think about the whole number. But now your answer is bigger than 1/4. Evidently, this is not correct. So explain what went wrong, confusing the multiplication with the addition rules. So students always remember rules, common denominator. right? So we constantly uh, uh, I think one of the challenge I when I observe classroom, I said, well, our teachers constantly focus on common denominator. Actually, it's common denominator. It's not a math concept. It's just a process. We use the common denominator to simplify our process. So you can see over here, and here is an example. Use the reflection as well. And if you are teaching science over here, I put the example of your light versus dark. So you can have a little bit of laboratory work. So you can see over here, you plan before the experiment. And then you monitor and during the experiment. Then you adjust while working. And then finally you reflect after the experiment. You always summarize something want to correct, something want to run. So you summarize next time I would track leaf color. For instance, you always have notes reflect. The bottom line is you always use your reflection to recall your learning process. Okay. And I also put the example for high school over here. High school is more advanced over here. So strategies will be exam reflection. You have exam in high school, we have a lot of exams, SAT and so on. So we have a lot of exams. What did you study? And after your exam, you always analyze your exam. Remember, in state report card or nation's report card, they always give you detailed analysis. And which part is a strong part, which part is the weakest part. You got to learn from that document. So what's the challenge next time? If you don't do that, you will not make a progress. You will make a same mistake time and time, okay? You always reflect that in order to make a progress. And again, you got to do this plan, you got to monitor, you got to adjust and reflect. Finally, always see next time I will try to avoid that. And we have test experience always have that. And why don't you tell your students to do the same thing, right? So and I put here, I understand that we have a lot of challenge. Oh, great. Why you, as a teacher, you give students every day just a 1 minute reflection. What help you to learn? We use a lot of exit tickets, right? Why don't you change a little bit? If you, by the way, if you use exit ticket, you must analyze that and use it. If you don't use it, just students turn in, you do nothing and not useful. You don't need to give them, right? And exit ticket is the data. Remember, we collect the data in order to analyze the data and draw the conclusion. If you don't use the data, do not collect the data. Okay, simply like a homework. If you don't plan to grade homework in detail, you don't give them many. Give them one or two, do whichever you can. The homework, everything like a data, even like the warm up, it's data, right? If you don't use the data, you don't need to collect the data. Okay. And peer teaching, another one, pretty good. And for students and all grade level, and you can explain your thinking to your partners and also clarify why you're teaching. You understand more. You have more preparation. Okay. So I understand the challenge we have, and we have a lot of challenges over here. For instance, this is just a possible strategies you can take away and set clear goals. This is all we all have it. You when you construct your lesson plan, you have that, and encourage your students asking meaningful questions. This is also one of the reflection and use exit ticket homework to access understanding. Again, exit ticket, homework, warm-up, classwork, this is all data. Let me focus again. If you decided to collect this data and you must analyze the use it. If you don't use data, don't collect it. Just like do research. You do research, you collect the data, and in order to make a meaningful conclusion. If you don't use this data, and why you collect it? Okay. And encourage student peer teaching. I really believe peer teaching is so important. in the in my learning time, I still remember my teacher in high school. My teachers asked us to make a quiz questions, which I still remember today. So after 34 years, and once you are able to make the quiz question, you have a better understanding. So you you learning things by doing. Okay. And the challenges, I totally understand our teachers are so frustrated sometimes in terms of time, in terms of the pressure, in terms of many new things coming over here, and the time constraint. Okay, I really kind of suggest you may try to use the classroom time for not only reflection activity and for other activity as well. If you are teaching very challenging area and you give students homework, for instance, you so upset they never complete homework. What do you do? And I would suggest just use the classroom 10 minutes or 15 minutes, let them do in class so that you can watch it, you can monitor it, you can get a reflect. Okay. And if you give them homework, they never do it, and you still collect them, just try to complete some sort of task. That's not meaningful. So I will say if you are in certain area, try to use your classroom time. I think my experience, I saw a lot of teachers do that, and 15 or 10 minutes, and that way at least you can collect the data, you can monitor it. Okay. And also students' resistance. And sometimes I'm teaching students that never do it, and we see these reasons all time. Try to connect the students in real life. Real life. Today we're focusing on career-based education, and the reason for that is just to connect the students in real life. And for instance, if students are like a basketball, and you can connect athletics, review the performance. Easy to get it. Okay, each school have different program on that. Gamers, gamers adjust strategies. We have lots of gamers for learning and not for just commercial games. Okay, business owners test the refine decisions, and you can study many of them. We have ton of information. For instance, personally, I receive Orange Register in the newspaper. They have a lot of a topic on that, all about athletics, all about games, all about entertainment, all about business. These all things are interesting areas. So you might want to kind of connect this real world example, and so that we can better promote the students for this area. So takeaway, and you might want to try this metacognition. Start very small. For instance, if you are teaching seven classes every day or 6 classes every day, you start one class to see what's going on. And if you see the easier your teaching process and get students a higher achievement, you might want to kind of, work on other class and be, maybe you can expand your ideal. I'm professor. I review students a lot of action research. You might want to put the action research to let others know it and to expand your strategies. Okay, and to disseminate your action. Okay. Second is be consistent is so important. Don't be afraid of fails. And I taught middle school for 2 years, And I guess at the very beginning, it's very frustrated. And then you keep consistent and do something you really believe it works, and you will see the positive results. And then you start a model thinking, and from a student's perspective, not from your perspective, from a student's perspective, to think metacognition, I think it will be easier. And so I summarize over here some strategies. You might want to use it. And finally, I put the red over here. You can explore additional tools powered by AI. We have AI now. And for your certain class context, you might want to you select one strategy and ask AI. I have, seven ELL learners. I have 504. I have certain things. Ask AI, give you best choice. Then you reflect on AI to meet your needs. So personally, as a school, I think a lot of teachers use like ChatGPT, Gemini, and Notebook LM. So you might want to check on that. They're pretty simple, and I explored not difficult, especially combine Google Classroom, Gemini, and the Notebook LM. Pretty the similar platform. So just my suggestion over here. And here's I put some information I learned over here, become a great teacher over here. So I started teacher of the year from the county, from state, from national. So I summarized the four characteristics for great teachers over here. Number one, make students excited about learning. We're talking about it before, and as a teacher, how do you make a students excited? That's you need to think. And the real life connection and understand your students, understand the local community, this is all involved. And then number two, use the variety of teaching strategies effectively. So you have different strategies, use different one. Sometimes we call this a differentiated instruction. And then number three is so important. You see, the great teacher over years that reflect regularly on practice and purpose ongoing professional growth. So you need to reflect, I would say, daily, weekly, monthly. It's not that easy. You cost your time. Yeah, and the teacher is a different profession. It's unlike a manufacturer. So you after work you have nothing to do. Your teaching make you think. You always think, how do I getting better? Okay. Number four, of course, actively in education, the local, state, and even international studies. So here's a suggestion for our teachers over here. Reflect on your teaching and document your insights. I would say small notebook, daily. I still keep a few great teachers, worldwide great teachers, their notebook. And so it's very detailed. Today I'm teaching fraction, and my students only have 20% of the understand. And how do I do it? And which strategies I needed to change? What adjustment I needed to make? So you needed to kind of document it. And the number two, be a change maker. So now it's a changing time, and improve students' achievement is so important. Like I said before, we cannot accept that 88% of our students in high school do not meet. That's the huge number, too big number. Okay, this is your moment, I would say, to show what you are capable of. And as a teacher, I think this is a big field now, for you to to be a change maker. And revisit your journey over the month and the years. You will become a great teacher. year later, you look at your notes, you look at your things, you say, wow. So that's why that's my journey. Okay, so start small and make it bigger. Okay, here's some reference over here. I do not put APS style over here just for you to look at, California test and the National Report Card, International Study, and the John Dewey's and the National Teachers of the Year. Questions? We have about 15 minutes.
Hello, I have a question,
Go
if I
ahead.
may ask. Developing metacognition among the students, is it like lesson study because you're also using the data from your lesson to further develop your like work? Is it similar to the lesson study, in your opinion, of course?
It is not a lesson study. Lesson study basically is one of the research fields. So we just kind of analyze a certain lesson. And so researchers work with practitioners to get feedback and what is good, what is the improvement part. And this is reflecting actually is the personalized teaching and the learning. So as a learner, we always reflect on what we did. And as a teaching, so we kind of try to teach our students have such skill. And meanwhile, we as a educator, we reflect on our action to improve our teaching practice.
Thank you so much. I'm going to use it for my students, even though they're university students, but they're future like teachers. So we're going to practice
Yeah,
next
this is
academic year.
both for students and for teachers. Actually, it's for all of us. And for our career, we needed to learn how to reflect on our work, and in order to get better. Yeah.
Thank you.
Dr. Wu, there's also a question on the chat from Sabrina. Do standardized tests help improve education, or do they pressure schools to focus more on scores than real learning?
I don't think we can only look at scores each year. But however, the test score do give us some sort of measurement to see, to reflect. But we are not really relying on only test score. However, like I said, a test score do give us some some thoughts. For instance, if you look at the nation's report card, they are not only give you scores, they give you reasons. What percentage of students have this is answer? What students have this answer? So, like I said before, for instance, if we are teaching fraction, so the concept of a fraction is sharing things fairly. That means sometimes with the same shape, same size, right? But not all of our students get that point, get that concept. If you look at the nation's report card, you will see how many students do not get this as a part. They only set out share things. That's a sharing. Sharing has to be fairly. Okay.
I believe there was a hand. Cassandra, was that you? Feel free
Yes,
to
ma'am.
unmute. Yes, go
Yeah, go
ahead.
ahead.
I have just a simple question. I know that we're talking about, the support within education, but I'm looking to see where those students with inabilities are. Um, as an instructor in a community college, I'm finding that a lot of students now come in with some aspect of a disability, that being, you know, um, cognition or cognitive, or not so much physical, but those that, that I don't want to say that COVID gave them, or that time. The students are more online learners, or better at online learner than they are face to face learning. What do you think that we could do with these students in a general ed population for those who have, disabilities, and some just from having been online? I have a lot of graduates, high school graduates, and most of them said, "Oh, I was online for 3 years." So it's the reading comprehension, it's the spelling, it's the difference between MLA and APA. It's just a lot, and it's like teaching all over again. So how could I better support that within cognitive development in the classroom? Sorry.
I think this is, of course, it is a very challenging question. We have developed many strategies. However, it's not that effective. But I think now is with the AI help, AI development, you can concentrate on what we call the individualized learning, and then tailor off for each student and try to motivate their thinking. But nothing wrong about students. Our students come to school to study, no matter you're on-site or online, and they want to have a bright future, right? And you want to learn, you want a bright future, and whichever work for them, we can work on that as an educator. I think now should be possible by using AI. Personally, I always kind of explore for special ed, for instance, and to see kind of an AI. You don't copy from AI. You just kind of take some ideas because our thinking is limited. So AI give us a broad options, so we can see that one, see that, then explore more options. Great question.
Thank you.
Everybody, please feel free to unmute if you have other questions, or you can also put it in the chat. Dr. Wu, do you have any resource links? That's a question from Sherry.
Question link. Okay, let me see over here. Oh,
And just to let everyone know, we will be sharing the slide deck. Once Dr. Wu shares with us his slide deck, we will be sharing that with everyone. We'll also be sharing the recording as soon as we get it uploaded in our YouTube channel. Thank you, Sherry. Elena, all right. All right. If there are no other questions, please give our speaker your appreciation. Thank you so much, Dr. Wee.
Thank
Dr.
you. Have a
Wu,
good
I'm sorry.
day.
no problem. Thank you so much for your participation, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I have email over here if you need more information or about that, or you have questions needed to discuss with me, and please feel free to send me email.
All right, I just posted also the link for our opportunity drawing. For those of you who are interested in putting your name in our opportunity drawing, we will be announcing that during our closing session. For all, we will be announcing the winners. So go ahead and do that if you want to.
Thank you so much, Professor. It was very insightful. I will make sure to get it and to translate this presentation in Russian to give it to my students, with your permission, of course.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.